He lifted his bow and placed an arrow on the string. He pulled it back slowly, aiming straight at the ball. Before he could release the arrow, Eze turned and saw him. Eze's face changed at once.
Put down your weapon, Ugonna. That animal must not be harmed.
What do you mean it must not be harmed? It's a big animal. We should kill it and add it to our hunt so that our catch will be better.
There are things you do not understand, Ugonna. That animal should not be touched.
And why not?
Think carefully. We searched the forest for a long time and found nothing. Then that boar appeared and led us to these antelopes. Do you think that is ordinary? That boar may not be an animal. It may be a spirit in animal form trying to help us.
That makes no sense! You and your stories about spirits! It is just an animal, nothing more!
Tell me the truth. Do all of you really believe these things? Spirits turning into an animal, guiding hunters? Is this not nonsense?
I think we should listen to Eze. Judging from what we've seen so far, this cannot be ordinary. Yes, I also think the boar led us here. The elders always warned us not to shoot every animal we see. Some animals are not animals.
This is not enough! We are many! This hunt is too small, all of us! We will share it and manage what we have. Not every hunt will be the same. The next hunt may be better.
I'm done listening to this nonsense. And I'm not going home with only these antelopes.
A long time ago, the village of Umuago was surrounded by a thick forest that stretched farther than any man had ever walked. The people of Umuago were feared and respected by neighboring villages because their hunters never returned empty-handed. From the time a boy could hold a bow, he was taught how to track animals, how to set traps, and how to survive in the deep forest where even the bravest men sometimes lost their way. Among all the hunters in Umuago, none was as skilled as Eze. Eze was known for his traps. No animal escaped once it stepped into a trap made by his hands. He was also known for his shooting accuracy. It was said that Eze could release an arrow and strike a bird in the sky without missing. Even the elders sometimes said that his eyes were sharper than the eyes of a hawk. But what made the people respect him the most was not only his skill, it was his character. Eze was careful. He was patient. He never rushed into the forest without thinking, and he never spoke proudly about his strength. Because of this, both young hunters and old hunters listened whenever he spoke. In the same village, there lived another hunter named Ugonna. Ugonna was also strong and skilled, but not as skilled as Eze. He could hunt well, but he was arrogant and careless. While Eze would study the forest before shooting, Ugonna would shoot first and think later. While Eze moved quietly, Ugonna made noise and frightened animals away. Many hunters did not like going to the forest with Ugonna, but he did not care. In Umuago, the people believed something very important about the forest. They believed that spirits sometimes took the forms of animals. The elders always said that the forest was not only a place for animals and trees, but also a place where unseen beings lived. Sometimes these beings protected hunters who were respectful. Sometimes they guided lost people back to the village. And sometimes they led hunters to a great catch. But the elders also warned, not every animal you see in the forest is an animal. If you shoot without thinking, you may shoot what should never be shot. Because of this warning, most hunters in Umuago were careful. They watched before they attacked. They listened before they moved. And among those who obeyed the elders the most was Eze. Eze had a wife named Aole and a young son named Ulisa. Every morning before going to the forest, Eze would wake up before the sun rose. He would wash his hands and pray quietly. He would say, "Let my hands be steady, guide my steps today, and let me return home safely." Only after praying would he carry his bow, his arrows, and his hunting knife. And whenever Eze went hunting, he always returned with something. Sometimes it was a deer, sometimes a bush pig, sometimes an antelope so big that other hunters had to help him carry it home. On days when his catch was too large, the hunters would laugh and say, Eze, are you hunting animals or are the animals coming to you themselves? Because of his wisdom and experience, the hunters of Umuagu chose him as their hunting leader. Whenever they wanted to go deep into the forest, they followed Eze, and Eze was not greedy. If a hunter returned without catching anything, Eze would share his own meat with him. Because of this, the people respected him even more. But Ugonna did not like this. Ugonna also had a family. His wife's name was Ginika, and he had a son called Kachi. Unlike Eze, Ugonna did not believe what the elders said about the spirits in the forest. Whenever the elders spoke about animals that were not animals, he would laugh. He would say, Forest spirits, I only see animals and trees. If he moves, I shoot. That is all. Whenever the hunters went together, Ugonna often caught only small animals. Squirrels, grass cutters, sometimes nothing at all. Meanwhile, he would watch as carrying a deer on his shoulder or dragging a large antelope behind him. Each time this happened, Ugonna's face would become dark with anger. Inside his heart, he was jealous, but he never said it openly. One day, early in the morning, Eze gathered the hunters. They were going for a group hunt deep inside the forest. The men carried bows, arrows, knives, and traps as they followed the narrow path between the trees. The forest was quiet that day, too quiet. They walked for a long time, crossing small streams and thick bushes, but they could not find any animal, not even a bird. One of the hunters whispered, Something is wrong today. The forest is too silent. Another said, Maybe the animals have moved to another side. They kept walking. Then suddenly, one of the hunters stopped and pointed ahead. Near a small stream, standing calmly beside the water, was a wild boar. The animal was big, strong, and perfect for hunting. All the hunters quickly raised their bows and arrows. Their eyes became sharp. Their fingers pulled the strings back, ready to shoot. Just as they were about to release their arrows, the boar slowly turned its head and looked at them. But instead of running, he stood there, staring, not afraid, not moving, just watching them. Eze's eyes widened immediately. His face became serious. He quickly raised his hand and said in a low voice, Lower your bows. The hunters looked confused. One of them whispered, Why? It is right there. But they trusted Eze, so one by one, they slowly lowered their bows. Ugonna frowned and stepped closer to Eze. Why should we stop? He asked. That is the biggest animal we have seen all day. Eze did not take his eyes off the boar. He said quietly, Trust me. After a moment, the boar turned its head again. Then he slowly began to walk away from the stream. Eze immediately started following it. He waved his hand to the others. Follow me. Do not shoot. The hunters exchanged looks, but they followed him. The boar walked away calmly, as if it knew they were behind it. They walked for a long time through the forest. Then suddenly, the boar stopped. Eze also stopped and raised his hand. The hunter stood still. Eze slowly looked forward through the trees. Then his face changed. He whispered, Look there. The hunters looked in the same direction, and what they saw made their eyes widen in shock. Not far away, in an open space between the trees, were two big antelopes standing quietly and eating leaves. The hunters could not believe it. They had searched the whole forest and found nothing. Yet now, two large antelopes stood right in front of them. Eze nodded slowly. This time, he raised his bow. The other hunters followed. The arrows flew at the same direction. Both antelopes fell to the ground, and the hunters shouted in excitement and ran forward. They had made a great catch. The hunters were still standing near the fallen antelopes, speaking excitedly about their great catch. when the sound of leaves moving made Eze turn his head. Far ahead, between the trees, the wild boar they had seen earlier was still there. It had not run away. Instead, it was slowly walking deeper into the forest, as if it was not afraid of them at all. Eze watched it quietly, but Ugonna also saw it. His eyes immediately became sharp, and without saying a word, he lifted his bow and placed an arrow on the string. He pulled it back slowly, aiming straight at the boar. Before he could release the arrow, Eze turned and saw him. Eze's face changed at once.
Put down your weapon, Ugonna. That animal must not be harmed.
What do you mean it must not be harmed? It's a big animal. We should kill it and add it to our hunt so that our catch will be better.
There are things you do not understand, Ugonna. That animal should not be touched.
And why not?
Think carefully. We searched the forest for a long time and found nothing. Then that boar appeared and led us to these antelopes. Do you think that is ordinary? That boar may not be an animal. It may be a spirit in animal form trying to help us.
That makes no sense! You and your stories about spirits! It is just an animal, nothing more!
Tell me the truth. Do all of you really believe these things? Spirits turning into an animal, guiding hunters? Is this not nonsense?
I think we should listen to Eze. Judging from what we've seen so far, this cannot be ordinary. Yes, I also think the boar led us here. The elders always warned us not to shoot every animal we see. Some animals are not animals. This is not enough! We are many! This hunt is too small, all of us!
We will share it and manage what we have. Not every hunt will be the same. The next hunt may be better.
I'm done listening to this nonsense. And I'm not going home with only these antelopes.
Eze saw what he was about to do and rushed forward. Ugonna, stop! But before Eze could reach him, Ugonna released the arrow. The arrow flew straight through the air and struck the boar in the side. The boar let out a loud, painful scream, but the sound did not sound like an animal. It sounded otherworldly. The boar fell to the ground, struggling. Eze froze in shock. Then he shouted, "Ugonna, what have you done?" The other hunters stood still in horror, their eyes wide with disbelief. No one moved, no one spoke. Ugonna, however, did not look afraid. He walked forward towards the fallen animal. The boar was still moving weakly, trying to stand. Ugonna pulled out his knife, and without hesitation, he bent down and finished the animal. The forest became completely quiet. Even the wind stopped. Ugonna wiped his knife and stood up. He looked at Eze and the other hunters and said coldly, "You can share the antelopes among yourselves." He pointed at the boar. "This one is mine." Eze's face was filled with anger and fear at the same time. He stepped forward slowly. "You should not have done that," Eze said in a heavy voice. "There will be consequences for this." But Ugonna laughed. "I fear no forest," he replied. "I only fear hunger." He lifted the boar onto his shoulder with effort and began to walk away. The other hunters watched him go, their faces full of worry. One of them whispered, "This is not good. This is not good at all." Eze did not speak for a long time. He only looked in the direction where Ugonna had disappeared between the trees. Then he turned to the hunters.
Come on, let us head back to the village.
The hunters lifted their catch and followed him. But as they walked out of the forest, each of them felt the same thing in his heart. It felt as if the forest was watching them, and he was not pleased. That night, Eze could not sleep. He lay on his mat beside his wife Anwule, staring at the roof of his hut while the sound of insects filled the night air. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the moment the arrow left Ugonna's bow, and the way the wild boar had screamed like an otherworldly being. Eze sat up quietly and rested his back against the wall. His heart was heavy. He kept thinking about the warnings of the elders. Not every animal in the forest is an animal. and when a spirit is harmed, the forest will demand an answer. He shook his head slowly. Ugonna has done something very bad, he whispered to himself, and I fear the consequences will not be small. Outside, the night was too quiet. Even the wind seemed to be listening. But in Ugonna's house, the night was very different. Ugonna did not care about what happened in the forest. His wife Geneka had already cut the meat of the wild boar and cooked a large pot of soup. The smell filled the compound, and his son Kachi sat happily beside the fire. They ate the meat with joy, laughing and talking loudly. Kachi said proudly, "Father, this is the biggest meat we have eaten in a long time." Ugonna smiled proudly. "You see, if I had listened to all that nonsense about spirits, we would have returned with only small meat." Geneka laughed. "These hunters are too afraid. Animal is animal, meat is meat." They continued eating happily, not knowing that Eze in his own house was sitting awake with fear in his heart. The next morning, the village woke up as usual. Women went to the stream. Children ran around the compound. Men repaired their tools and prepared for farm work. Everything looked normal. No one spoke about the boar, but many hunters were thinking about it. The whole day passed peacefully, but when night came, something happened. From far inside the forest, a loud sound rose into the air. It was a cry, a long, painful wailing sound. It sounded like an animal, but also like something crying in deep pain. The sound echoed across the village. People stopped what they were doing. Children ran inside their houses. Women covered their mouths in fear. The cry came again, longer this time. It sounded wounded, angry, and sorrowful at the same time. Soon, the whole village heard it.
What is that sound?
Oh my God.
That is not a human voice.
Whatever it is, it sounds like it's mourning. What kind of demon is screaming like this? Nkechi, Oya, come on, let's go inside.
People began to close their doors early that night. No one wanted to stay outside. Even Ugonna, who never believed in spirits, felt uneasy, though he refused to show it. That same night, near midnight, Eze woke up. He had been lying awake for a long time and decided to step outside to ease himself. He opened the door slowly and stepped into the cool night air. The moon was bright and his compound was quiet. He walked a few steps away from his hut. Then suddenly, he froze. Across his compound, near the fence, something was standing. At first, he thought it was a dog. Then the creature moved forward into the moonlight. Eze's heart jumped. It was a huge black panther, bigger than any animal he had ever seen. The panther stood still, staring straight at him, its eyes shone in the darkness. Not like an animal's eyes. They looked almost human. Eze felt cold air run through his body. Eze felt cold fear run through his body. The panther did not move. It only watched him. Eze slowly stepped backwards. Then suddenly, the animal growled softly. That was enough. Eze turned and ran into his hut as fast as his legs could carry him. He slammed the door shut and locked it, breathing heavily. I only woke up in fear. What is it? What happened? Eze did not answer immediately. He only sat down, shaking. "There is something outside," he whispered. "Something is walking in the night." In the morning, the whole village was talking. Many people said they had seen a black animal roaming around during the night. One man said he saw it near his farm. Another said it passed behind his hut. Some said it was a demon. Some said it was just a wild animal that came out of the forest. But when Eze heard the stories, his face became pale. He did not speak. Inside his heart, he knew this was not ordinary. The next night, Eze and his family sat together eating their dinner. Anole served the food, and little Olisa was talking happily about playing with the other children in the village. For a moment, Eze tried to forget his worries. After the meal, he stood up and stretched. "I will go outside for some fresh air," he said. Anole nodded. He stepped outside and stood in the compound, looking at the sky. The night was calm, too calm. Then he heard footsteps. Someone was coming towards his compound. Eze turned and looked. A man was walking slowly towards him from the darkness. Eze frowned. He had never seen this man before. The stranger was tall, taller than most men in the village. His body looked strong, but the way he walked was strange. Too quiet, too smooth. As the man came closer, Eze felt goosebumps rise all over his body. There was something about him, something not right. The man stopped in front of him and greeted him calmly. "Good evening." Eze stood up straight and greeted him back. "Good evening. Who are you? Can I help you?" The man looked at him without smiling. "Who I am is not important," he said slowly. "What is important is why I came." Eze felt uneasy. Still, he tried to be polite. "Please, sit down," he said. The man shook his head. "I will not sit." At that moment, Eze felt it strongly. Something was wrong. He stepped a little closer. "Tell me, who are you?" he asked again. Suddenly, the stranger turned sharply and looked straight into his eyes. His eyes was golden, shining in the moonlight. Bright golden. Eze felt his heart skip. A cold feeling ran down his back. Then the man spoke in a low voice. "Have you seen my son?" Eze blinked in confusion. "Your son?" "Yes," the man said. "I am looking for him. I fear something bad has happened to him." Eze swallowed hard. "What? What do you mean? Tell me about your son." The man did not blink. He only stared. "My son left to guide a group of hunters to their kill," he said slowly. "He did not return." The moment Eze heard those words, his whole body became cold. His mind went back to the forest, the boar, the antelopes, Ugonna's arrow. Eze's legs became weak, then tripped and fell to the ground, staring at the man in terror. The stranger stood there, looking down at him with his golden eyes. Eze's voice shook. You are not..." Before he could finish, the door behind him opened quickly. Anole ran outside. "I heard the noise, Eze. Are you alright?" Eze turned to her, his face full of fear. Then he quickly turned back to point at the stranger. But the place was empty. The man was gone. There was no one there. Eze stared in shock. His wife held his arm. "What happened? Why are you on the ground?" Eze looked around widely. "Did you see him?" he asked. "Where did the stranger go?" Anole frowned. "What stranger?" Eze's heart pounded. "The man. He was standing here, right here." Anole shook her head slowly. "You are the only one outside when I came out. I did not see anyone else." Eze froze. His mouth slowly opened, but no words came out. Shock, confusion, fear, all at once. Because now he knew whatever spoke to him that night was not a human being.